Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bedtime with Tomi. Tonight we are going to read Chapter 9 of Dancing with Aurora. Clara. Clara berated herself for not agreeing to the numbing agent. Meditation and a quick soaking of her feet before rehearsal had helped alleviate some of the pain, but it only went so far. She took several deep breaths, pushing all thoughts of her injury to the far reaches of her mind. Closing her eyes, she allowed for the first few bars of piano music played by the lovely Westminster Ballet's accompanist to fill her body and soul. Her muscle memory took over and guided her through the movement she had performed thousands, maybe even millions of times. There was always a sense of peace as she went through pliés, tendus, botmas, and frappés. All ballet dancers use the same movements as a basis to prepare their bodies for the day. The bar was the great equalizer. Clara's personal warm-up included a series of abdominal exercises and stretches for her hips, back, and legs. Everything needed to be warmed up to avoid any other injuries. Her arrival at the Royal Opera House had been relatively smooth, thanks to the easy car ride over. An opera house attendant had greeted Clara at the entrance and led her through the maze of hallways to the beautiful studios of the Westminster Ballet. The opera house had been renovated and was a vast contrast to what she was used to. Large modern dressing rooms and rehearsal rooms littered the building. The Westminster Ballet was much larger and better funded than a much better funded company than LABT. Looking at herself in the mirror, a wide smile graced her face. Dancing on the edge of the Royal Opera House had been her dream since she was a little girl. Sorry, that should have been stage. Every second she spent in the theater was precious. A dancer never knew how long their career might last. At 26 years old, Clara was older than the average soloist. She'd spent the past 4 seasons as a member of the Los Angeles Ballet Theater's Corps de Ballet. More often than not, a career was over for a woman by the time she was 27 or 28 years old. Men were luckier. Their careers typically lasted longer than those of their female counterparts. Beneath the tutus and magical satin point shoes that allowed the ballerinas to stand on their toes were dancers who pushed themselves to the physical and mental limits of what they could endure. On an average day, Clara was consumed by company classes, rehearsals, and performances from 9 in the morning to 11 at night. Her body always experiencing some type of ache or pain that wasn't normal for a person her age. If anyone were to ask me if it was worth it, I'd give him a resounding yes. There's nothing more special than being able to dance on a stage, connect with the audience, and become a character in a story. Closing her eyes, Clara listened to the methodical sound of her feet brushing along the wooden floors. When she opened them once more after finishing her frappés, she took notice of the tall, ginger-haired dancer watching her from the doorway, her partner for the evening, Anton Nichols. "I'm assuming you're my Aurora," Anton joked as he entered the rehearsal room, coated in a thin sheen of perspiration. Walking over to the bar Clara stood at, he extended his hand to her. His smile wasn't quite as wide as David's, nor was it quite as tall. Her cheeks warmed. Now is not the time to be thinking of David. "That's me." Her hand quivered. She wiped her palms against her tights. "I'm so excited to get to work with you. You have no idea how many times I've watched the video of you dancing the Sleeping Beauty Grandpa with Nella Green. As far as I'm concerned, it's the gold standard." Clara flushed even more. Why had she mentioned that? He roared with laughter. "Well, I'm happy you're not afraid to come out of your shell with me. You'll be just fine as my Aurora, especially if you've seen how I like to partner my ballerinas before. Don't be nervous. Igor's assured me you're a quick study. Let's run the pot and see how far we can get." Since there were only 2 dancers in the room, plus the pianist, Clara was able to relax. There were no outsiders that would be watching and judging her. That would come later tonight. She covered her yawn with her hand. "Well, at least I'm in character. I feel like I could very well sleep 100 or more years. Let me put on my tutu, and I'll be ready for a go." Clara hated wearing the heavy pancake tutu more than necessary. She preferred a light rehearsal skirt or long flowing romantic style tutu. Stepping into the 9 heavy layers of tulle, she snapped the garment into place. She rolled up onto her toes a few times, meeting Anton in the center of the room. A few of the muscles in her legs spasmed, a mixture of excitement and tension. He nodded to the pianist. From the top. Anton, a principal dancer with the Westminster Ballet, possessed a rare blend of artistic and technical ability. He had risen sharply to the top of the ballet world. A decade earlier, he had won the prestigious Prix de Lausanne. Dancing with a ballerina of his caliber was a career-defining moment for her. "Relax," he whispered into her ear. Her muscles loosened as she melted into his embrace, letting him move her across the floor in sync with the dance's rhythm. In a pas de deux, it was the goal of the male dancer to showcase the female's strength and grace. He's not just a gifted partner, he's also a gifted coach. Clara let Anton run the fastest rehearsal she could ever remember. When a ballerina and her partner collaborated for the first time, the differences took time to iron out. Time, unfortunately, was not a luxury the pair had. The hours spent in the studio on her own time learning and practicing the Westminster Ballet's version of the Sleeping Beauty wedding pas de deux was paying off. She could rely on her muscle memory and focus on the dance's details. With Anton, this was working out the timing of the variations, 3 famous fish dives. In this intricate move, the male lifted the ballerina, creating the illusion of her diving or swooping gracefully through the air. It took an enormous amount of strength and trust from both dancers. Focus on squeezing your hamstring a little more and fully committing to the dive. The more you lean, the easier time I'll have catching you. She nodded. Anton's strength was evident as he expertly performed the skill one-handed. Clara felt a wave of gratitude for his precise technique. She remembered the first time she'd ever attempted fish dives. Her partner had dropped her. He blamed her for being too stiff, but in actuality, he had been at fault for misjudging the timing of the skill. At the end of the 45-minute session, they high-fived one another. That went about as smoothly as when I run the pas with Nella. You two move similarly. Anton patted his brow with a towel. Coming from you, that means everything, she grinned. Did you want to have a go at any of the lifts or turns one more time? Clara shook her head. I'm happy to leave it here. I just hope our stage performance mirrors this. It will, he winked. Trust me. Igor poked his head into the rehearsal room, already dressed for the evening, and nodded. Bravo, you two dance beautifully. You'll bring smiles to the faces of every audience member. I don't think I've ever received so many compliments, she said. Anton turned to the director. Igor, you were right to suggest her for Maria's spot. Don't tell her I said this, but Claire here is much calmer and is so fast to make corrections to the movements. She's a true gem. Clara collected her belongings. I'm going to head downstairs to my dressing room for a snack and get a head start on my makeup. Wonderful, Anton said. I'll meet you on the stage at 6. We can warm up together. Walking out the rehearsal door, she had time to reflect on all that had happened to her. Today is one for the ages. It's been by far the craziest 24 hours of my life, and that's before I even get to the stage. David threw me a lifeline by helping me sort out the hotel problems. Oh, I should have asked Igor about that. I'll do it later. How ironic that she was staying in the Rose Suite and the St. George and dancing the role of Aurora. Even if David didn't know it, she'd dedicate her performance to him. Thank you so much for joining me tonight for this latest chapter of Dancing with the Royal. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.